morning, this is Melody Benton, also known as Movement Goddess. I just want to share 2 exercises with you this morning for low back tightness, lack of low belly awakening, hip flexor holding, dominant hip flexors, and tight hamstrings. So I am about to go ocean surfing, and there's a lot of extension in that, and the way to really get the front of the spine to open is to get the hip flexors to open. Well, to get the hip flexors to open, we have to be in touch with the upper hamstring, lower glute awakening in relationship to the front of the spine. So there's this connection, this fascial connection of the back of the leg to the front of the belly. So when you study embryology, we see that the limb buds come out facing hamstrings up, bottoms of the feet up, right? That's how they form, and around 8 weeks, they spiral back. So the hamstrings are hamstrings and inner thigh are part of the low belly. So if you sometimes feel like you're lacking lower core strength, it could simply just be a lack of integration of the back of the leg to the front of the spine. So that connection, and then these movements are, the roll-up series will help open up the low back and to feel this support, right? So it's a way to counter a lot of extension. It's a way to counter tightness in the back and just to get the spine moving. So the first one we're going to do is single leg bridging. And this movement is a whole body movement on the floor. So it's a way to get that connection of where your sit bone kind of connects to your heel, and to wake up the back of this leg. So the first thing is we want to wake up the back of the leg to open up the hip, right? And then when the hip opens, you're just going to be able to feel your spine and your ribs able to move more freely. And it'll be like a wave through that movement practice. So we'll start with laying down. So I'll show you set up this way. So right leg is extended, left leg is slightly out to the side. So probably not directly in line with your sit bone, maybe just slightly out, but we want it kind of close, right? So I can touch my heel when I'm laying down with my fingers. I'm going to take my left fingers and I'm going to find my sit bone. That way I can feel when the lower glute and upper hamstring turn on. So it's about trying to feel the femur, like the back inside of the femur head coming into the pelvis, right? Feeling that connection turn on as I bear weight with my foot. So I'm going to allow my inhale, and on the exhale, I want to try to feel the whole foot like a tripod. And when I pour down, I'm just pouring down to the foot, my hip will lift because this is turning on back here. And then I'm going to try to stay connected to my foot as I lower back down. So the foot creates an activation through the lower glute and upper hamstring. Allowing the inhale, exhale, pouring through that whole left foot. So you want to feel the equal heel weight, inner, outer, and to find the ball of the foot, think of your knee kind of going towards your toes and see what's happening to my pelvis. It's lifting, right? I'm not lifting it. I'm yielding down into my foot, which is creating not a grippy glute, but an interconnection of the femur into the pelvis, and then into the belly. I'm going to slowly lower back down. One thing I see often is that this side of the body, this is what I will see often, is that people will get really tight and they try to help and they do this lifting thing. So you really want to make sure this side of your body has permission to do nothing, right? But just to yield, like it's just relaxing, right? So that's the first part, is single leg bridging. And until you just kind of keep playing with that, it's like the back of the leg becomes like this hammock, and as your knee reaches towards your toes, you'll feel the front of the hip kind of opening, right? It opens when it finds support through here and through your foot, right? And then through that, I can add some spinal movement. So my arms are going to rest over my head like this. And as I put weight into that left foot and the hip lifts and the knee is going past my toes, the energy through my foot actually will send my ribs and my arm across my body like I'm reaching for something, right? But I'm not losing that yielding feeling into the ground. And so I'm going to allow my in-breath, and when I exhale, I'm going to think about it, a waterfall, like my shoulder blades waterfalling down my back and energy into my foot, and that creates this response of a flow up, right? And that allows the reach. And then I'm going to lower my left hip down first. So I'm trying to feel that articulation and the spiral. Right? I'm going to keep reaching until I'm all the way back down. Right? And I like to do that at least 3 times. Allow the in-breath. And then pouring weight through the foot, sending the knee towards the toes. Feel how the ribs, that left rib wraps around the front, right rib wraps around the front, so I get this back wrap around as I reach. So my arm is reaching not from my traps, but it's reaching from, I like to think about it, from the shoulder blade to the front of the spine, from my breath, from my diaphragm. And then as my foot, as I find my foot and I take my hip back down with gravity, then my ribs follow, then my shoulder and arms. Okay? So that's single leg bridging, and you'll do that on both sides. Second, last exercise is single leg roll down or single leg roll up. So if you have sandbags, great. If you don't, I sometimes will use just a bag filled with some heavy items. If you don't have anything heavy, you can certainly do it with a pillow or a towel, right? So I'll start with just showing you the pillow, and this is to get the hip flexors to grounding the hamstrings to quiet these hip flexors, so we can really feel what it feels like to feel that low belly, front of the spine, the deep core, right? Not this bracing, abdominal bracing, parking brake core, but the way that when the back body opens, the front body drops in, it creates a lift, right? So I'm going to start with my legs forward. So I'm going to bring my bag over my right ankle, just kind of weight it down. That's going to help these hip flexors not turn on and your leg to not pop up, right? I'm going to hold the back of this left leg, and what I want to kind of feel is a little bit of that tone again back here. Maybe not quite so much, but it's there, right? So it's as I find each sit bone, and I'm going to visualize my tail, my pubic bone going straight down. So that energy, that down the back energy, grounding, gravity, right, and ground reaction force to lift up the front. I'm always playing with that, like I'm a gravity surfer. So allowing the in-breath to the side, to the back, to feel the length of it. And then as I exhale, my tail and pubic bone are going to start to, they're going to start to curl between the 2 left and right pelvic halves. And as I start to roll back, I'll turn the side. I've got my pillow right snuggled in so that my sacrum and my hips can open. Right? So as the tail curls, I'm not slumping. Right? There's a little bit of my shoulder blades waterfalling. See how that creates a little lift of the head? I'm not pulling down. It's an in-between. Find your slump, find your pull down, and then really just kind of let the shoulder blades go into gravity. That immediately puts me in my belly. Connecting to breath, feel the back of the left leg. So the energy of the left leg, left sit bone is going that way into my hands, right? And the weight of that leg allows my shoulder blades to waterfall and my upper core to turn on. So my tail and my pubic bone are going to keep gliding through, and I want that right leg just to relax and stay as heavy as possible as I roll slowly back, thinking of the bones in my vertebrae dropping into gravity, one bone at a time, allowing the inhale there, And as that left leg goes forward, I'm not going to pull. I'm going to let the weight of the leg, I'm going to let the tail keep releasing through my legs as I slowly roll back up. So one of the things that I can tend to do is lock my elbows. Right? I lock my elbows. Right? That I lose my upper core. So if I soften my elbows, there's my wide collarbones, and I have this little lift through my head. And it should feel like a nice spine massage. And as I roll up, I'm going to exhale, send that foot forward. I'm going to feel a little bit of tone right through here. Right. My leg starts to lift my head. I'm going to look forward. I want to release into gravity. So I want to soften a little bit. Letting my belly soften so my back can open as I roll all the way up. And you can do that on both sides. The other option is if you have a really tight back, a bed pillow is really nice. If you're longer, you may want two, so your head doesn't fall off. So the other option is this other setup. If you need less, right, is a towel. And holding on to that leg. And so the towel is less. So you could take away your pillow and then go to a towel. And then make sure you yield, which just means you feel all your points of contact into the ground and the ground coming up to meet you. And you breathe into that, and as the foot goes forward, that will lift the head and sending that left leg forward. Because the right hip flexor is going to want to help. So this is me. I have a tight back, and my hip flexors like to dominate. If I don't use weight on my legs and I don't use support, even in single leg roll up, see how that left leg is trying to help, and I don't have that opening. So it's really important, especially before I go surfing. I want to make sure these guys are as relaxed as possible, so that I can really get into the spine extension more naturally than forcing it. So again, without support, right? Without support for me, right, is not as open. See, I can't really control that speed there. Long inhale, exhale. I'm having to pull myself up. So it's super useful for me to start with either a blanket or a pillow. And after a few times, then I can usually move those aside, and I can roll up and down with more ease. In our traditional Pilates, in a Pilates or natural movement, that whole idea of being able to roll down without the legs coming up, right? So you can kind of see how my hip flexors want to help right there. So when I add in a little bit of support, this allows the back to open and the belly does not brace, but it to drop in, right? All of those front spinal support muscles. So when I add in a little bit of support there, inhaling, right? I'm able to move more freely in my spine. Okay. So have fun with that. If you have any questions, feel free to message me or reach out for a private. I do movement therapy sessions where whatever your parts of body that aren't integrated or moving as well as they could, I help you with repatterning your body to feel it moving more whole and integrated. Whether you're an athlete on the water or on land, or you just want to move better in general. Here's a little gift, and hope you enjoy. Namaste, and have a beautiful day.